sort of, but we never used it. It was not really a BDFL model, but our new model really works hard to make sure that we have a good balance of power, checks in place, accountability mechanisms, conflicts of interest, just to make sure that companies that compete in the marketplace can come together and work on Jupyter in a neutral, collaborative context.
Where did you go for research resources to build out the model, or were there sort of a bunch of places you looked at, or?
There is. We've had a working group, myself and Fernando, and another leader, Darian Ashton, have led that. Honestly, we absolutely looked at a number of different governance models, from the Apache Foundation, to Rust, to Node.js. I mean, we had a sort of research period. But a lot of it was identifying the goals and constraints that Jupyter has. And, it's a unique open source project. For example, one of the goals of Jupyter is, even as we have become more important in the commercial space, educational and research usage cases remain extremely important to us. And we need a governance model that reflects that priority. And, another unique dimension is, it's not like the Apache Foundation that has a bunch of sub-projects under it that aren't really related, right? The Apache Foundation itself doesn't drive a technical agenda across all of its sub-projects. That would be crazy. It's also not like a single monolithic thing like Pandas, where there's just Pandas, right? And it's easy to drive a single technical vision across and roadmap across Pandas. Jupyter's in between, in the sense that we do have quite a few independent sub-projects that on a daily basis operate independently, and yet the whole thing falls down if they don't coordinate. And if there's not a technical, like a global technical plan. So for example, every single sub-project we have works with Jupyter Notebooks. And if one team breaks the Jupyter Notebook document format, everyone suffers, users suffer. So it's unique from that dimension that it's larger than one monolithic thing, but all the different pieces have deep interrelationships with each other.
In a sense, almost closer to an operating system than sort of other things, or there's just all these subcomponents which have to work, or else stuff starts to break badly.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, it took us forever. Like I said, it's been a 3-year effort. But we're pleased with how it's turning out, and we're just finishing it up. So it feels good.
So I was going to ask, does your employer support your work on the project with work time? Obviously, yes. Maintainer burnout, is that something you've ever experienced, or is that something that you felt you've come close to?
I think different people in Jupyter have experienced it in different ways. For example, some people have not been as successful in getting official work time allocation. And so over very long periods of time, they've had their Jupyter work and then their day job. And that drives one type of burnout that honestly I've never had, because both at the university and at AWS I've had official work time allocation. I think the closest I've come to burnout is probably before we started the new governance model, we were really struggling to scale, and no one quite knew who, trying to make consensus among a group of people that's too large. There becomes a lot of ambiguity about who can make decisions. And I was in the horrible position of having a lot of informal power, in the sense that, I was one of the creators and co-founders, but we didn't have a BDFL model in the sense that where I could just make decisions and people would be happy with it. And so I ended up doing a lot of the work of the project, but without the cover of formal leadership and governance. So I guess the way I would phrase it is I did a lot of the work and I was the easy punching bag. Like people, and it was horrible. I really, I got blamed for everything. And what I mean by that is in an open source project, regardless of what decision you make on any topic, someone will be unhappy with it. And all of that got directed to me. And I did not enjoy that. Now with the new governance model, I feel free of that. And so that's not really an issue any longer. And it's wonderful, but that's the closest I've had. My experience is not representative of other Jupyter contributors though. It varies widely. It really does. And so I'm sure that contributor burnout is an issue in Jupyter.
How do you maintain inside of Jupyter, a very collegial, collaborative environment with so many stakeholders? I mean, obviously there's codes of conduct, but there's organizations that have codes of conduct which everybody knows are still toxic, and there's other organizations that don't have codes of conduct where everybody's happy because it's like, hey, dude, be cool, So.
Yeah, no, this is challenging. We do have a code of conduct. But you're right in the sense that there's a lot of things that don't rise to the level of being a code of conduct violation that would still be damaging to the community. I don't know that if I were to give Jupyter a score on this right now out of 10, or let's say a letter grade, A, B, C, D, etc. I would say at our best, we're probably a B+. At our worst, we probably still have situations that are B-, C+. And I was just talking to one of our leaders yesterday about this, where a new contributor made some comments on GitHub that no one said, not a code of conduct violation, but that rubbed people the wrong way. And we were talking about how do we handle this and how do we communicate to people and encourage people to, and the way that I would phrase it is not to avoid communication that's problematic, but to maximize how your communication drives goodwill, trust, collaboration. And so it is something we talk about and we've worked hard on. Some of this is where we are pretty explicit about diversity and inclusion being important for us. Our new governance model has a DEI standing committee that is a key part of the governance model. That body has a seat, for example, on the software steering council. That's the technical body as well. So we're prioritizing it. We haven't always prioritized it. And I think part of the challenge is at the scale we're at now, what prioritizing it means is still to be worked out fully in terms of we need a scalable mechanism that enables us to be confident that in that random GitHub repository over there, when someone opens an issue,